Okay, you beautiful New Zealanders, welcome to another video. This is an email that you've got in front of you from one farmer to another, and they're talking about Te Mana o Te Wai, which is the Maori hocus pocus spiritual understanding, Maori religious understanding of water. And it's being imposed upon people around the country, but this has to do with farmers in Otago. So he says, "Hi David, sorry to email you on Saturday, but I don't think this should wait. Last month I wrote to you about the government's failure to repeal David Parker's mad Te Mana o Te Wai, literally meaning the mana of the water requirements. You know what, this is Maori religion being forced on the whole country, and it's going to be expensive. Watch what happens." A few days ago, the research team at the Taxpayers Union was sent the details on how the rules are playing it out in my local area, Otago. We know it would be expensive, but I didn't think it would be this bad. To comply, the cost to comply for local ratepayers is tens of thousands per household. So this is per household. This is not just for farmers, this is for everybody. Our friends at Federated Farmers were leaked confidential documents out of Otago's regional council, in brackets, and given the mutual interest in this issue, we kindly shared them with the Taxpayers Union team. Here's the summary. Councils were required to give effect to the principles of Te Mana o Te Wai under the previous government's freshwater policies. Now I'll just say that again. Te Mana o Te Wai is the Maori understanding of water. They say water is a living being. It's like a person. We know it's not a person. There's no scientific backup for that understanding whatsoever. It is just matter. And this is being forced on the whole country. And behind all of this is Maori wanting to take control. That's what it is about. It's part of the coup. It's part of a tribal raid on this country, and it has nothing to do with water quality or water safety. It has to do with Maori wanting control, and it is part of the wider move by Maori for a tribal raid on the country and taking control of the country. You see, what we have to realize, and this is so important, I don't know how to emphasize this anymore, but what we have to realize is that in this country at the moment, in our country, beautiful New Zealand, there is actually a coup going on. You've got radical Maori wanting to take over the country, and so they're having a crack at the water, which is Te Mana o Te Wai, which we're talking about now. The activists have infiltrated education from kindergarten to the university, brainwashing all our kids, our grandchildren, and they are grooming them to become voters to all things Maori when they get old enough. Activist bureaucrats have infiltrated Parliament. They're having a crack at taking the beaches from us as well. Activists have taken control of the Waitangi Tribunal. That is a well-known fact. Activists are having a go at taking control of the judicial system through tikanga and introducing Maori law as the first law of New Zealand. They're having a crack at taking over real estate agents, brainwashing them. Medical centres, did you know that all medical centre staff have to do a course on Maori culture and Maori cultural safety? Can you believe that? They're trying to take control of dock estates, getting all the land that's there. Of local councils, we know all about that. That's what we're talking about today. But it goes further than that. It's Maori wards and everything to do with councils. It has to do with the RMA, the Resource Management Act. That's what this is all about. They're trying to get hold of the health system. They have got control of it. And that is, it's been Maorified. There's Maori words all over hospitals, and Maori patients are prioritized. It's a racist, apartheid-riddled health system that we now have. In immigration, people who come through into our country are given a compulsory course on the Treaty of Waitangi and all things Maori, and that is to groom them. Of course, they don't know any better. These poor innocent people coming in, they just think this is normal, but it's not, because they've walked straight into a coup. There's the Maorification of the police, and of course the big problem we have, a major problem, is that the media is complicit and it is corrupt. It is helping all this because many of the media have joined in, their hard left wing, and they have joined in with helping this coup and facilitating this coup. It's a disgrace that the media are doing this, and they've joined in the Maori religion. They have joined the cult, and so they are helping. Now, it doesn't help that we have an activist prime minister who's trying to be a do-gooder, who thinks that he's being the Nelson Mandela of New Zealand by promoting all things Maori. And then you have another big problem, which is Potaka, Tama Potaka, who's his Minister of Maori Development. These two are working left hand, right hand to Maorify New Zealand and keep co-governance going. In fact, what's actually happening here is we have a sophisticated tribal raid happening in New Zealand. Like I have said in previous videos, pre-1840 Maori tribes were warring and fighting, taking land and slaves and whatever from each other. Aspect of New Zealand society, like a 10,000 headed monster It's got its tentacles into everything, and they're using social media and so on. So the tools are much more sophisticated today. And so that is what is happening in this country. And we need to wake up to this, that this is a raid on this country. And everybody who is not a Maori activist is in the tribe that is being raided. The raiders are the Maori activists. The raided are all of us and this very country. And if this keeps going, we're going to be the Zimbabwe of the South Pacific in no time at all. So when we talk about Te Mana o Te Wai up here, this is only one part of the picture. This is only one small area of the farmyard. You have to understand the bigger picture, because otherwise you won't get what's going on here. So I hope we all take a picture of this on your phone, this graphic that's on the screen right now. Take a picture of it and hold on to it and study it and think about it, because that is what is happening in this country. You see, what we have to realize is that this is about capturing the minds of people in New Zealand. That's what they're trying to do. If all those little areas, and there'll be other areas that I haven't got on here, but the media, real estate agents, health system, immigration, police, farmers, the Waitangi Tribunal, the judicial system, all of this is about capturing the minds of New Zealanders. And what's that for? To ultimately to capture votes. Particularly this applies to the infiltration of activists into the education system. And what are they capturing votes for? So they can get control legally. If you can get people voting for all things Maori when they're old enough, then they can legitimately vote themselves into parliament, and then they complete the tribal raid. You see how it works? Now all this is supposed to be completed by 2040, and they've actually written this down in Hei Puapua, that's a document, and also MATIKE Mai. Now I've put both those documents in the description in this video so you can read them for yourself, but that's what it's all about. That's where we're headed. This is like a roadmap so Kiwis get to know what the hell is going on here, and this is where it's going. So when we talk about Te Mana o Te Wai, this is only one little piece of the jigsaw, but here's the big picture which I've just outlined to you right there. While the new government has announced it will review the direction requiring this, their review is not yet complete. In other words, the national government is very slow to repeal anything to do with this sort of claptrap. And that is because Chris Luxon is an activist, and he is the orchestra conductor inside the National Party, and they are wanting to further Maorification and further co-governance without actually saying it, but that's what they're doing. It's staggering that despite the review, the Otago Regional Council is charging on and aiming to give legal effect to Te Mana o Te Wai this year. In other words, they're going to make it law inside the council. We understand the council has reached a view that protecting the mana of water means no treated urban wastewater will be able to be discharged into waterways. Can you believe this? What do Maori know about science, the science of water? Honestly, what do they know? In pre-1840 days, Maori knew absolutely nothing about sanitation. In fact, I'll read you a quote Maori were doing with their sanitation before the Europeans arrived. Here it is here. William Pember Reeves was a New Zealand politician, cricketer, historian and poet who promoted social reform. Quote, the Maori attitude to sanitation, personal cleanliness, good eating habits and living practices conducive to good health was the despair of all who knew them. Look at that. How's that for Maori being advanced in their sanitation habits and their desire to be amazing with water and conservation? Reeves has this to say about Maori living and health standards of the 19th century. Quote, they did not seem to realize that they might be healthy men and women if they would accept the teaching of sanitary science as sincerely as they took in the religious teachings of the early missionaries, nor would they be made to realize that foul air, insufficient dress, putrid food, alternations of feast and famine, and long bout sedulous idleness were destroying them as a people, so that as long as they soaked maize in the streams until it was rotten and ate it together with dried shark, the merest whiff of which would make a white man sick, so long as they would wear a suit of clothes one day and a tattered blanket the next, and sit smoking in crowded huts, the reek of which struck one like a blow in the face, so long as they would cluster around dead bodies during their tangi or wakes, so long as they would ignore drainage, so long as they would remain a blighted and dwindling race. A gradually broadening ray of hope for them has, however, now been glimpsed. The efforts of the government have been in matter of education, of sanitation and of medical supervision and have had their good effect. In other words, he's saying the government really stepped out to help Maori with their absolutely diabolical living standards, their sanitation and the way they were living. I mean, you've got to go back up to here and say this. Look, I've highlighted in yellow the Maori attitude to sanitation, personal cleanliness, good eating habits and living practices conducive to good health was the despair of all who knew them. Now this guy's an eyewitness. He's a historian. He's a politician. He's a poet. He was living with them. There you go. So much for Te Wai and Maori saying they have the high moral ground with sanitation. It's a joke. If this rule is implemented, it will no doubt mean billions of dollars of additional costs to Otago ratepayers, including farmers. You know, you have to ask where the council is at. Where are they? Where is their headspace? They're living in a parallel universe. And the truth of the matter is that many of these councillors, and they're being influenced by Maori on the council and by activists who've infiltrated the council, and the other group is just white woke people who have been brainwashed and who have joined in with the Maori religion. And that's what it is. It's become like a cult that you join in, and it's mindless. It's a bit like Gloria Vale, where you join in with something with mindless obedience to it, and you throw your brain away, and you just you get taken over. Current infrastructure, even though it treats water to an incredibly high standard, would need to be mothballed and replaced. So in other words, all the infrastructure that's existing now to keep water pure and beautiful will have to be replaced because of Maori hocus pocus, Maori religion, Maori superstition. We also understand that under the council's definition of Te Wai, water from one river can't mix with water from another. Honestly, that has got to be the most ridiculous understanding of water in the entire world. Water from one river can't mix with water from another. Hello, the whole ocean is the result of the mixing of waters from rivers. You fools. If such a rule is implemented, it would cause major issues for irrigation schemes where water is stored and irrigated in an area and where it may eventually enter a different catchment. I mean, of course, when you have a dam, all of those waters in that dam, all of that water in that dam comes from many different rivers, many different sources. It's the same with the Waikato River. That Waikato River flows because there's lots of tributaries coming into that Waikato River. I mean, how on earth do councils even consider this? This is the epitome of stupidity, the epitome of a cult, and the epitome of foolishness to even be engaging with this. Again, none of this is to do with the scientific view of freshwater quality. It's simply aiming to give effect to Te Wai. In other words, you throw science out the window, you throw your brains away, and you simply bow down to Maori religion, Maori superstition, Maori hocus pocus. According to the documents obtained by the Federated Farmers in at least two small towns in central Otago, the cost of giving effect to Te Wai will be more than $50,000 per ratepayer, residential ratepayer. So there you go. We're now funding Maori religion, Maori superstition, and it's going to break the country. And if this spreads around other councils, it's out of control. The thing about this that I want you to notice is this: Maori top the negative social statistics in the whole country with respect to suicide. 51% of prison inmates are Maori. 64% of women inmates are Maori. They top the statistics with obesity, child abuse, animal cruelty, truancy in schools, and so on. Why would you give effect to a cultural group in the country that is failing in every area? It's like giving the leadership of the country to a group of people who are failing. Honestly, think about that. Would anybody in their right mind do that? Give the leadership of a council or a country to the group who is the most outstanding in their failure in a society? Who would do that? You would only do that if you were insane. See you tomorrow. Please share this video with everyone everywhere. The mainstream media should be reporting on the issues I am raising in these videos, but they're not. Why aren't they? Well, they're corrupt. Why are they corrupt? They are collaborating with Maori activists. There's no doubt about that. In the final analysis, the people of New Zealand, that's us, have ultimate power, not the politicians. Did you know that? The people can kick out the people in power and they can put them into power. How are we going to do that? Well, awareness is the key to change. If enough people in New Zealand become aware of the issues I am raising, we can save this beautiful country. So share these videos everywhere so that come the next election, we can vote the right people in and kick out the people who are destroying New Zealand.